Welcome back to our fifth talk. Our next speaker is Dr. S. Upendran, and his topic is English through rhymes and sounds. We are honored to have with us today a distinguished scholar and a passionate linguist, Professor S. Upendran. Hailing from Hyderabad, he has dedicated his life to the fascinating world of English literature and its intricacies. He taught at the Central Institute of English and Foreign Language, later renamed as English and Foreign Language University. In addition to teaching on the regular programs, he scripted, produced, and edited a number of radio and television programs for both students and teachers of English. Professor Upendran is best known for his popular column, Know Your English, which has been a regular feature in The Hindu since 1992. He took over this column from his father, K. Subramanian, and has since been enlightening readers with his profound knowledge and engaging writing style. His work is not just limited to his column. He has also authored several books, including the Know Your English series. His first volume, Idioms and Their Stories, explores not just what different idioms mean, but the stories behind their origin. His dedication to his craft is evident in the meticulous research he undertakes for each piece he writes. Professor Upendran's contribution to the field of English language and literature are immense. His work has helped countless readers improve their understanding of the English language and its nuances. Please join me in welcoming our esteemed guest, Professor S. Upendran, to the stage.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank all of those who had their tea and decided to come back. So thank you. First of all, let me begin by, can you hear me? Okay. Is that good news or bad news? The fact that you can hear me, is that good news or bad news? Right now, no news. All right, so here is a case of the husband following the wife. So what kind of masculinity is that? The good kind. All right. Well, let me begin by saying that since my retirement 4 years ago, one of the things that I normally do is to take a nap between 12:30 and 2:30. What is the time now? 12:30. So if I fall asleep, let me sleep. Don't wake me up. And should the talk cause you to sleep, I will return the favor by not waking you up. Now, with the preliminary statements done with, let me begin my dog and pony show. When I was a teacher, I was often asked, what is the best way to learn English? And my standard reply was, there is no best way. Whatever works for you is the best way. Take, for example, my father. He was taught using the grammar and translation method. He ended up learning English. When I was a student, I was taught using the if you don't learn this, I will break your knuckles method. I ended up learning English. So it doesn't really matter how you learn English. The teacher will get you to learn the language. So there is no best way to learn English. But if you were to ask me, what is the best way to pick up English, then I have an answer for you. And in my opinion, the best way to pick up English is songs. Because through songs, what you will do is you will end up picking up language unconsciously. And that is the big difference between the teacher teaching you English and the songs teaching you English. The teacher forces you to learn. It's very, very conscious. Whereas in the case of songs, you pick up language unconsciously. You might ask me, why songs? And my answer to that is, why not? Why not songs? I mean, we all listen to songs, even if we don't want to. Sometimes we are forced to listen to songs. You walk into a hotel, the first thing you listen to is music. You call your friend and his calling tone may be a song. So, although you may not be interested in songs, we are always aware of its existence. Now, if I were to say to you, Roop Tera, what would you say? What? Okay. Many of you said it. Why? Why did you say Mastana? It's a song, but I didn't say anything about songs. All I said was, if I say Roop Tera, what will you say? And many of you said Mastana. Did you have to think about it? Did you have to complete the sentence? Oh, what can it be? What can it be? No, all of you immediately said Mastana. Why? Why? Why did you say Mastana? Because you heard it. When was the last time you heard it? Yesterday? This morning? When did you hear it? Long, long ago. Right? You may have heard it yesterday, you may have heard it 20 years ago, you may have heard it 5 years ago, but the thing is, as soon as you hear Roop Tera, you immediately say Mastana. It's like the two words, Roop Tera, trigger the third word, Mastana. Why? When you learnt the song, how did you learn it? Did you say, Roop, 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 Tera, 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 Mastana, 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 Roop, 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 Roop Tera, Roop Tera, Roop Tera, Mastana. Is that how you learnt it? No! You didn't learn it word by word. You learnt the entire line, Roop Tera, Mastana. And that is what songs do. They help you pick up language in chunks. Unfortunately, in the classroom, what happens? The teacher gives you a word and says, use this in a sentence. That's not how we learn language. We learn language in chunks. And what songs do is help you acquire language in chunks. Now think about how you learnt English. How did you learn English? All of you are here listening to this quote-unquote talk, but think about it. How did you learn English? Yes. Yeah. Lady in the front. Through rhymes, okay? Most of us who went to English medium schools, the first thing we learnt was not the letters of the alphabet, not grammar, noun, verb, etc. All of us learnt rhymes. And what were some of the rhymes that we learnt? Twinkle, twinkle, little star. What else? Ba, ba, black sheep. Anything else? Johnny, Johnny. Anything else? Rain, rain, go away. How about that famous Jack and Jill? All of you learned Jack and Jill? You learned Jack and Jill? Tell me, just say that rhyme, the first line.
Jack and Jill went up to hill.
Okay, thank you. Next line. You don't know? Right, next line. Yeah, you. Yes. Huh? Okay. What do I do? Water.
Jack fell down.
Jack fell down. Broke his crown. And Jill came tumbling after. Right? Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
The camera.
Hi, camera. Okay. Huh? Oh, okay. So Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. When was the last time you said it? Years ago. Years ago. But you still remember it. And this is probably much older than Roop Tera Mastana, right? You probably heard Roop Tera Mastana much later in your life, in your young life, I should say. So, why is it we remember? Yes, it rhymes, it helps you to remember. Yes, what else? Because of the beat, the music, what else? What is it about songs and rhymes which make them very different from nouns, verbs, vocabulary, etc.? Storytelling. Was this storytelling? What else? Did you enjoy learning these rhymes? We all enjoyed learning these rhymes. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. We enjoyed learning these rhymes. You learnt them in school. Once you learnt them, what did you do?
Sang it in front of relatives who came home.
You came home, and then what did you do? You made your parents sit and you recited this rhyme. With, well, I don't know about actions, but in some cases with actions. But you recited the rhyme. And what was the parents' reaction? Very happy. They were extremely happy. Ah, we have another Shakespeare, right? They were very happy. And how did you feel when they clapped or did whatever they did? You felt extremely happy. And when an unfortunate guest came home, what did they do? They plonked you in front of the guest and made you recite all those rhymes. You recited the rhymes, and the poor guest listened to it, clapped, you felt happy. But my question to you is this: were you learning English? Were you learning English? You felt you were learning English because you could reel off line after line of nursery rhymes. But were you actually learning English? Okay. Because if the guest suddenly decided to ask you a question, if the guest said, Jack and Jill went up the hill. But tell me, why did Jack and Jill climb up a hill to fetch a pail of water? Water usually comes down. So why did these two kids climb the hill? And what would have your answer been? Just look at him and walk away. Uncle is being difficult. But the thing is, when you were learning these rhymes, were you worried about the meaning? In fact, you didn't even think about the meaning. All that you were thinking about was learning these rhymes, and you thought you were learning English. And It was learning lines without real understanding of anything. You weren't worried about the meaning. All that you were doing was having fun. And that is what language learning is all about. You learn a language when you're having fun. Think about the other rhyme that we all learnt. Ring-a-ringer, ring-a-ringer roses, pocket full of posies. Then? Yeah? Hasha, busha, we all fall down, okay? Ring-a-ringer roses, pocket full of posies, hasha, busha, we all fall down. Now, I assume that most of you are in your 20s, right? Now, have you ever looked for the word hasha, busha in a dictionary? No. Why haven't you? It is something that you learnt. So why haven't you looked up this word in a dictionary? If you did, will you find it? Probably not. Hasha, busha doesn't exist. In fact, we have made it hasha, busha. Native speakers of English would say, a tissue, we all fall down. And remember how we sang this in school. What did we do? We held hands. Ring-a-ringer roses, pocket full of posies, hasha, busha, we all fall down. And as soon as you said we all fall down, what did you do? You fell. You fell. And once you fell, what did you do? But when you fell, did you cry or did you laugh? You laughed. How often do you laugh after falling? Not very often, but you fell, you laughed, you got up again and said, teacher, one more time. Now, ring-a-ringer roses, pocket full of posies, hasha, busha, we all fall down. Did you ever ask the teacher, teacher, why do you want me to fall down? Why do you fall down? What's this rhyme about? Ring-a-ringer roses, pocket full of posies, hasha, busha, we all fall down. Why do you fall down? Why did you fall down? You fell down, right? So why did you fall down? The teacher asked you to fall down, so you fell down. That's what we all did. But we never questioned the teacher. We picked up, we learnt a lot of nursery rhymes without really understanding the meaning. And the great thing was we were having a lot of fun and we believed that we were learning English. Because if you look at the meaning of a rhyme like Ring-a-ringer roses, what's it about? What's it about? What is this ring-a-ringer roses, pocket full of posies, hasha, busha, we all fall down? It's about the plague, okay? And Europe was visited by the plague quite often. So ring-a-ringer roses, when you caught the plague, or when Europeans caught the plague, the skin erupted in some sort of a rash. And the skin became pink in color. Roses, ring-a-ringer roses, pocket full of posies. In other words, people walked around with a lot of flower petals in their pocket. Okay, flower petals. Why? Because the stench of death was everywhere. People were dying, and you didn't have... There were so many people dying that you couldn't bury all of them or burn all of them. So bodies were left everywhere on the street, and that used to stink up the entire place. Hasha, busha, we all fall down. A tissue, we all fall down. In other words, you because there were bodies that died of plague, you yourself caught the plague, a tissue, you start sneezing, you all fall down. You fall down dead. Is it a good rhyme? Good rhyme? Nice meaning? No. But we weren't worried about the meaning and all that. The teacher asked you to fall down, you fell down, and you enjoyed it. So when you are young, you pick up a lot of language unconsciously. Right? I can wake you up in the middle of the night and say, Jack and Jill, and what will you say? Went up the hill. And you would add, now let me go to sleep. Right? This is what rhymes do. They help you pick up language unconsciously. And what I'm saying is, it's not only rhymes that can do this, but also songs. Songs can help you pick up language unconsciously. All right. After you have, or in this case, after you learnt your rhymes, your teachers started teaching you prose and all that. How many of you remember your first prose lesson? Your first prose lesson came much after the learning of rhymes. Therefore, if you can remember your rhymes, how many of you actually remember your first prose lesson? Anyone? When you were in school, you memorize a lot of answers to many questions. How many of you remember the answers to when did Shah Jahan build the Taj Mahal and why? I'm sure you learnt this. How many of you remember the answer to that question? Why is it that you're not able to remember those answers? What is the difference between remembering the rhymes and not remembering all the prose lessons that you did? Rhymes were fun. Shah Jahan building the Taj Mahal wasn't fun. Is that what you're saying? Prose is prose. I mean, it's dull. Okay, you might talk about academic writing, you might talk about, journalism, writing articles. You read and you forget. But once you have listened to a good song, once you have listened to a song several times, it stays in your head. There's nothing you can do to get rid of it. Sometimes, you wake up and a song keeps playing in your head. And it plays in your head throughout the day. Nowadays it's called a earworm, okay? A earworm. It's there in your head throughout the day. You don't have sentences staying in your head the whole day. But songs, yes. Right. The reason you don't remember your prose lessons is no rhyme, no music, nothing. It's boring. But songs, like nursery rhymes, help you remember the words. For example, if I say, what can I say? Are you familiar with some of the old songs? You are. Okay, let's see. हम काले है तो, all right, हम काले है तो क्या हुआ दिल वाले हैं. Right. When was the last time you heard it? But you still remember. And the thing is, you don't really have to know the meaning. It's like nursery rhymes. One word triggers the other. So much so, if you're driving or sitting at the airport and you hear a song which you haven't heard in, say, 15 years, somehow the words just come. And they come because whatever you learn, do you actually sit down, write down the words of the song, look at it several times, learn it, and then sing it? I'm not talking about classical music. I'm talking about, say, English pop songs or regional songs from movies, etc. Do you actually go to the net and say, what are the lyrics? Or do you just pick it up? Hello. You just pick it up. That's what we do. You pick up the words of the song just by listening to it. I'm not saying playing the song once, you're going to learn all the words. No. But you will pick up a few lines here and there. And that is what songs do. They help you pick up language. Now, some of you may say, well, I don't listen to English songs. Therefore, there's no use talking to me about listening to English songs to improve my English. Well, song. My movie, or whatever it is. No, the other one.
जब सहरा में मिलते हैं गुलशन में गुल खिलते हैं जब सहरा में मिलते हैं मैं और all the things you're telling me I never heard you say. जो सपनों में आया कौन है जो दिल में समाया तो झुक गया आसमां भी इश्क मेरा रंग लाया तो पिया Who makes my heart beat like thunder? Who makes my temperature rise? Who makes me tremble with light temperature, with one burning glance from her eyes? Margarita!
All right, whether we like it or not, we've all heard English songs in some form or another. Many of the famous Hindi, Telugu, Tamil songs are a copy of English songs. For those of you who've seen or heard Shami Kapoor's, what was that? Sugar in the morning, sugar in the bee. Dil dekho dekho, dil dekho dekho, dil dekho dekho ji. That's a copy of an old English song. Sugar in the morning, sugar in the evening, sugar in the night time too. Okay, so you have a lot of songs which have been copied from English songs, and sometimes it was the producer or the director who wanted the music composer to copy that song. For example, there's this story about Guru Dutt going to S.D. Burman and saying that song, I don't remember the movie, but Hai dil hai mushkil hai jeena yahan. I think it was, anyway, that's a copy of Oh My Darling, Oh My Darling, Oh My Darling Clementine. So you have people copying, and the point that I'm making is you have listened to English songs, whether intentionally or unintentionally. So there is no question of saying, I don't listen to English songs. So, and the great thing about songs, in what way are songs different from prose? In what way are songs different from prose? Okay, the recall is better, but what else? You hear songs, why is it easier to remember? Why is it that a paragraph written by Nehru or whoever it is, it's not very easy to recall, but whereas songs, you remember the lines after listening to it once or twice. Why? Fewer words in a song, what else? What kind of language do songs make use of? Is it the written language or is it the spoken language? It's the spoken language. And for us non-native speakers of English, songs are a great way to become familiar with informal language, the kind of language that you normally use when you speak. In the 1980s, a poet named Stephen Spender came to India and said, Indians write really well. They make use of formal language and their writing skills are good, but they speak the same way. The kind of English that they use when they speak is the kind of English that was spoken in Britain 150 years earlier. It tends to be very, very formal. And what we need to do is to begin to use the kind of idiom that is being used by native speakers of English. And songs are a great way to introduce students and yourself to the current idiom in English. Now, why is it important I talk about simplicity, informal language that you need to use when you are speaking. The question is, why is it important for us to speak in simple language? How many of you like using big words when you speak? How many of you want to use big words when you speak? How many of you want to impress people when you speak? Many of us, okay? I've always had students coming to me and saying, "Sir, I want to learn big words. I want to use those big words when I speak." And my question was, why? And the standard reply was, I want to impress people. So when I asked him or her, but do you have the same urge to impress people when you use your mother tongue? No. Only when I speak in English. I want to impress people. So I would say, okay, in other words, you want to say something like this? There is no sartorial resplendency today because of the pluvial plenitude. And he would say, yes, exactly. I want to speak like that. And then I would ask him, what did I say? He said, it doesn't matter. You sounded good. That's all that matters. You sounded good. You used big words. But why use big words if the other person is not going to understand it? Something like this, only a Shashi Tharoor will understand. All right? So, why do you want to impress people with, with big words? Don't waste your time. We speak in order to communicate. But unfortunately, many of us, especially when it comes to English, we try to impress rather than communicate. Communicate. Don't try to impress people. One of the things, for example, the rhyme, Jack and Jill went up the hill. Okay, 13 words, Jack and Jill went up the hill. Now, if the same idea is to be expressed by a lawyer, and you say, please, what would be the idea contained in the first two lines? What would be the legalese for this? Here's how a lawyer will write this. The party of the first part, hereinafter known as Jack, and the party of the second part, hereinafter known as Jill, ascended or caused to be ascended an elevation of undetermined height and degree of slope, hereinafter referred to as hill, whose purpose it was to obtain, procure, secure, or otherwise gain acquisition to, hereinafter known as pale, suitable for the transport of liquid, whose chemical properties shall be limited to hydrogen and oxygen, the proportion of which shall not be less than or exceed 2 parts of the first mentioned element and 1 part of the latter. Such a combination will hereinafter be called water. So, would you like to write like this? No. I mean, even highly educated people don't understand the language of law. We're not here to impress people. What we want to do is to communicate. And the kind of language that is used in songs helps you communicate. If you listen to songs, as I said over and over again, you pick up language, and you pick up the kind of language that you can use in your everyday conversation. Let me give you an example.
Get a ride, get a grip, get away somewhere, take a trip. Get a ride, get a grip, get away somewhere, take a trip. Take a break, take control, take advice from someone you know. Take a break, take control, take advice from someone you know. Come on over, come on in, pull up the seat and take a load off your feet. Come on over, come on in, you can unwind and take a load off your mind. Come on over, come on in, pull up the seat and take a load off your feet. Come on over, come on in, you can unwind and take a load off your mind. And go with.
Go back to look at the language here. What kind of language is it? Get a life, get a grip, get away somewhere, take a trip. Is it formal or informal? It's very, very informal, all right? These are expressions that we use in our everyday conversation. What does it mean, get a life? What does get a life mean? Get a life. What does it mean? What? Do something. Do something interesting. Don't just sit here listening to this old man talking. Get a grip. Get a grip of what? Of a bottle? Get a grip. Grip of what? Get a grip of what? Yourself or your life. Get a grip of your life, okay? Get away somewhere, take a trip. That's pretty obvious. Take a break. What does it mean? Take a break. Take a break from what you're doing. Take some time off. Take control. Take control of what? Your life. Take control of your life. Take advice from someone you know. Based on my experience, don't ever do that. Okay? Take advice from someone you know. Come on over, come on in. Look at that line. Come on over, come on in. She doesn't say come in, but come on over, come on in. What's the difference between come in and come on in? Which is more inviting? Come on in, okay? When would you normally say come on in? Party. Being a part of your life. If you're familiar with the person, if someone you know knocks on the door, you say, come on in. But if it's a stranger, you're not going to say, come on in. No, most of the time you'll just say, come in. What do your teachers say when you knock on the door? Okay, that's one. But do they say come in or come on in? They say come in, right? So you should tell them, you should say come on in, right? Because that suggests that the teacher is being friendly, whatever, but come on in, come on in, come on over, come on in, pull up a seat. What does it mean, pull up a seat? Take a seat, okay? You pull the chair out. Take a load off your feet. Sit down. Take a load off your feet. Come on over, come on in. You can unwind. What does it mean? Unwind. I need to unwind this weekend. You need to relax because you're all wound up. You're very tense. So you need to unwind. Take a load off your mind. What is the load of the mind? Worry. Stop worrying. Start living. Is that the only song there? Is there another come on over? That's the only one? The song, MP3. That's the only one. Okay. All right. All right. Can you play Come On Over again? Listen to the song from the start. Yes.
Get a ride, get a grip, get away somewhere, take a trip. Get a ride, get a grip, get away somewhere, take a trip. Take a break, take control, take advice from someone you know. Take a break, take control, take advice from someone you know.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Get alive.
Take a break, take control, take advice from someone you know.
Right, there are more than example here. Right into it. Right into it. 1, 2, 3. Get alive.
Get a grip. Get away somewhere. Take a trip. Take a break. Take control. Take advice from someone you know.
Very good. Very good. Now, what will you take away from the song? Any expression? You never know. You never know. Something or the other you may end up learning. But the important thing is you need to listen to songs and try to sing songs, because it really improves your pronunciation. And, teachers often talk about stress time rhythm, syllable time rhythm. How many of you do that? Stress time, syllable time? Well, songs are a very good example of what is called stress time rhythm. But going back to my main point, songs are a great way to learn English. That is all. On that happy note, I shall say goodbye. No questions. Lunchtime, we shall end. Huh? 1 or 2 questions or comments? Comments are fine. No questions. Come on. Any questions? What, you're too embarrassed to ask a question, or ask the question? Huh? No question?
Could I ask a question, Professor?
Yes.
Could I please ask a question? Yeah, so, learning English, but there are varieties of English out there,
Yes.
right? So, for example, in the American pop culture, there's so many African Americans who sing songs, and they have their own idioms, they have their own language in a way. So, the purist would say that's not,
That's not English.
that's not proper English. But of course, that's in a way racist also, because
Yes.
how do you define English then?
Look, I think as far as English is concerned, as an Indian, I should be able to speak what I would call an intelligible variety of English. It needn't be American English, it needn't be British English, it can be Indian. But the accent should be people should be able to understand what it is that I'm saying. But the great thing about songs is it exposes you to different varieties of English. You listen to American English, you listen to Australian English, you listen to South African English. And if an Indian is able to listen to what you called black music and is able to understand, that is fine. But he needn't, try to sound like him unless there is a reason for him to do that. And the reason could be he may have a girlfriend who is black. That would be the only reason why he would change his accent. So, as far as I'm concerned, songs are a great way to expose an individual to different varieties of English.
One comment that I have as an addition to what you have just said, you have used the old songs, the 80s or 70s songs
This is
here.
2000.
No, not this one, the Hindi ones.
Yes, the Hindi ones.
Hindi ones. But
Yes.
these days, the songs that are part of Telugu film industry or wherever, they come in multilingual
Yes.
varieties.
Yes.
So you do have an English component over there.
Yes,
And then
nowadays things are very different. In fact, the other day I was watching some video where people like Britney Spears and Jennifer Lopez have copied from Hindi and Telugu songs. So yes, things are slightly changing, but the thing is, we all hear songs, and songs are, what is the word? Ubiquitous. And it's available everywhere. You can't run away from songs. Here too. Yes.
Learning English through rhymes is good. But sir, grammar is, without grammar, how can you use English?
I'm not saying don't learn grammar.
Yeah, but you said it's all people learning through the grammars. It's old fashioned, right?
No. What I said was there are different ways of learning. Okay. One is the grammar translation method, whatever. You need to know grammar. I'm not saying don't learn grammar. What I'm talking about is there is a difference between picking up language and learning a language. And what I'm saying is songs are a great way to pick up language. In other words, you learn the language unconsciously.
Thank you, sir.
So grammar is important. So whoever is teaching you grammar, say, do you know that grammar is actually from glamour? People who knew their grammar were thought to be glamorous. Okay? So it was only later that, yes.
One more thing, sir.
Yes.
I am regular reader of your, in the column, in the Hindu, Know Your English.
Yes.
Yeah. Still it is going on in Monday to Friday in the Hindu. Sir.
Yes.
I am regular reader of this.
Thank you. It's because of readers like you that the column still survives. Yeah. Actually, one thing, before I end, I'll end on a happy note. Some of you may not find it amusing, but, when I was talking about Ring a Ring a Roses, one of the things I said was Europe was visited by plague very often. Why did it happen? It happened because of how, in the old days, even now in the villages, when you have to go, you went to the fields, did your thing, buried whatever it is that you deposited, and you came back, right? But in Europe, instead of doing that, what they did was, especially in places like London, Paris, etc., they deposited whatever it was that had to be deposited in a chamber pot, okay? And for some strange reason, they kept the chamber pot under their beds. So they spent the night, the day, smelling whatever it is that was. And whenever it got full, the chambermaid had to get rid of the stuff. And what did the chambermaid do? She didn't go dig a hole and bury the content. What she did was she opened the window and shouted, "Garde lo!" which meant beware of the water. And she threw the stuff out on the road. And people who were walking under the window ran because they didn't want to get splashed. And there was feces everywhere. You had dung from animals, you had the feces of human beings. That's why Europe was frequently plagued by the plague. Okay? And it is from this expression, garde l'eau, that we get the word loo. Loo as in the bathroom. The lo became loo, and loo is used to describe the bathroom. On that happy note, shall we go? Yeah? Right, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the enlightening lecture. I request Dr. Usha Raman ma'am to join us on the stage. I request Dr. Srideepa ma'am to felicitate our esteemed speakers.
And before I do that, as promised by Upendran, as anticipated by me, he did put smiles back on my students' faces. Thank you so much, Upendran, for doing that.
Thank you. As we all come to the end of another insightful day at Voices and Vision, exploring language, media, equality and equity in the modern landscape lecture workshop series, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to everyone who contributed to making today a success. First and foremost, a big thanks to our esteemed speakers, Dr. Usha Raman and Dr. S. Upendran, for their enlightening presentation. Dr. Usha Raman's exploration of performing aggression, toxic masculinity in media shed light on an important societal issue, provoking thoughts and reflections. Following that, Dr. S. Upendran's session on English through rhymes and songs infused creativity and joy into our discussion, reminded us of the power of language in various forms of expression. I would like to express our deepest appreciation to the mastermind, chief organizer of this remarkable workshop, Srideepa ma'am, whose vision and dedication have been instrumental in bringing us all together for this enriching experience. Her commitment to fostering dialogue and understanding in the realms of language, media, equality, and equity is truly commendable. A special word of thanks go to the organizing team and all the volunteers whose dedication and hard work behind the scenes have made this event possible. Your tireless efforts have ensured a smooth and memorable experience for everyone involved. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the active participation and engagement of the attendees. Your enthusiasm and willingness to delve into these complex topics have truly made this discussion meaningful and impactful. As we look forward to the remaining days of these lecture workshop series, let us carry forward the knowledge gained today and continue foster dialogues and understanding in our communities. Thank you once again, everyone involved, and here's to another day of inspiring insights and fruitful discussion ahead. Thank you. See you all.